Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going in Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found, and of course, taped live at the Twitch at twitch.tv/Steve and Larson. Big shout out to everybody, the Enforcer, the Friendos, everybody, the Church of Friendos, Alex and Caleb for really popping us the other day when they popped in. This weekend, we watched Triplemania Regia 2021, and we watched, of course, NXT War Games. We're going to talk about both those events here in a little bit, but wrestling is always better when it's with friends, and we had a ton of friendos watching wrestling with us this weekend. It's fun when you can just kick back for a couple hours and watch some graps with the friends, man. So thanks to everybody for hanging out with us. We definitely appreciate that.
We do. It was a fantastic weekend of watching wrestling and streaming with the Enforcer. Fantastic. Tons of fun.
Great stuff.
Best part of the job, as I mentioned in our pre-show. I think that right now we're in agreement. You, me, Enforcer watching wrestling, having fun, cracking some jokes. It's the absolute best part of this job.
I'll be honest, like watching anything with the two of you. Like Thursdays, we got the Smash Zone. No whammies.
That's
true. We've got
That's
that.
true.
We got the Family Feud, the Smash Zone. It's a blast. It's just hanging out. The fact that we've been able to, transition this podcast of ours into, a heavy emphasis on just hanging out. Just hanging out is awesome.
Yeah, I know.
It's great.
It is.
So yeah, we've got a couple items from the weekend news in wrestling. We're going to talk about, like I said, War Games and Triplemania Regia in a little bit. First, I want to give a shout out to some new patrons. If you enjoy Going in Raw, if you want to help support the show, best way to do it over at patreon.com/Steve and Larson. For $5 a month, you can get access to our bonus episodes. Do we know who the newest Numbers Don't Lie survey is going to be on?
Oh, good question. I will check that right now.
While you do that, I want to give a shout out to new patrons over the last couple days. We've had Lertnam George, Anthony Fish, Self-Willed Soul, and Ryan Gorman. Thank you so much for your support. We definitely appreciate over there. And if you enjoy Going in Raw, if you want the show ad-free, because these days we run some ads over here to help keep the lights on. But you can actually get the show in the audio realm if you're listening to the show on your favorite podcast app, just not Spotify, apparently. Apparently you still can't do this. I looked it up. But on Patreon, you can import your RSS feed, and it's Going in Raw plus bonus stuff ad-free. All that audio ad-free you can get into your favorite podcast app. You just import the RSS feed, and you can get that. If you like the show ad-free, you don't need the bonus content, you want to spend a little bit less, $3 a month at goinginraw.supercast.tech will get you the show ad-free. Once again, thanks to the new patrons out there. So in terms of the Thursday Numbers Don't Lie bonus episode, do we have a winner?
We do.
Who was up this time? It was Triple H.
It was Triple H. It was Ric Flair, and it was Randall Keith Thornton.
Yeah.
Here are the
members
results
of Evolution that we haven't done. Yeah.
We've done Dave already. Batista.
Right.
Randall Keith Thornton, 2 votes.
Okay.
Ric Flair, 3 votes.
Ooh.
Triple H,
the game,
5 votes.
Wow. So this Thursday, we're going to be taking a look at Triple H using Going in Raw math. That's very exciting.
Yeah, that should be an interesting episode.
That should be good stuff. We had an eventful weekend in wrestling. Of course, a couple other little bits in the news. This first one's pretty interesting because there's a lot sort of behind it with the context and stuff. And it's a pretty simple story. And if it was anybody else, it'd be kind of a minor thing. And this has to do with Jeff Hardy being sent home from the current tour that the WWE is on. What's going on specifically with this?
So PW Insider reported yesterday that Jeff Hardy missed yesterday's WWE live event in Corpus Christi, Texas, and that, quote, the word making the rounds at the event was that Hardy had been sent home from the road. PW Insider continues that Saturday night, at that night's live event, Hardy tagged with Drew McIntyre and King Woods against the Bloodline, and after being isolated by Roman and the Usos for a good stretch, he got the hot tag to Drew, and then he left the ringside area and exited up through the crowd. Shortly thereafter, Sean Ross Sapp tweeted, quote, unfortunately can confirm PW Insider's report that Jeff Hardy was sent home after what was called a, quote, rough night for him. That became evident as last night's live event match went on. Best wishes to Hardy. Since then, had a couple fan videos emerged of that particular match. There's two that really stand out. One is him making his entrance, walking around the ringside area. And the only thing that's kind of noteworthy about that is he's holding his side or his stomach, like right around here. Well, as he's kind of making his way into the ring.
Let's sort of big picture this a little bit. If this was anybody else, this would be, oh man, hope they're okay with whatever's going on here. Because it's Jeff Hardy, who has had a history and has been very open, and in fact, they reference it in storylines probably too often, has a history of substance abuse problems. Of course, there was that unfortunate incident, a very public incident at, I think it was Victory Road 2011, where he came out clearly inebriated to fight Sting, and it was shut down pretty quickly. Never should have happened in the first place. Because he has a history with this, I know my mind, when I saw Sean's tweet, unfortunately can confirm he was sent home after what was called a rough night, your mind automatically goes to, oh, no, he fell off the wagon. There's a relapse of some sort. Watching the fan video, it's not clear at all what the issue is. He doesn't, and granted, I know alcohol affects everybody differently, but it just looks like he went out there. He was holding his, when he was high-fiving the fans and stuff, he appears to not be inebriated. He just appears to be holding his side in discomfort.
Yeah.
And he goes up into the ring and he sort of, does his standard greeting to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he gets the other fan video, he gets a hot tag to Drew, and then he sort of immediately gets out. He goes over the barricade, but he does it in and I don't know how long the match had gone, but if there's a hot tag that goes on, you'd think the match has been going on for a little while. There's no evidence.
He's isolated for the whole middle part of the match.
There's no evidence to indicate that he was in the ring inebriated. So but your mind automatically goes there. When you hear Jeff Hardy had a rough night and he was sent home because of his history, unfortunately, as fans of his, it's like, oh man, that's the worst. If we had heard that, who was it? Jimmy Uso was pulled over without hearing the term DUI, you'd automatically assume because he has a history of that. And then if you find out it wasn't, then okay. With Jeff Hardy, you find out, oh, maybe it wasn't that. Number one, I'm like, thank God, and we still don't know the details, but it doesn't, from visually watching it, it doesn't appear to be that situation. This appears to be something else.
Yeah, you mean the indication you see him walk out holding his midsection, seemingly in discomfort. The way he's moving also seems like he's in some discomfort.
Yeah.
Don't know why, don't know the source of it. It's unfair to speculate. But it hopefully it's nothing serious, and hopefully it's we obviously wish Jeff Hardy the best.
Oh yeah.
And hopefully whatever it is, whether it's injury or some sort of stomach bug or something, I don't know what it is.
He's been having such a great run lately.
He has been.
And
hopefully he can recover soon. And I mean, he was isolated and getting beat up a vast majority. Cause I watched like about 10 minutes of someone basically recorded the entire match.
Yeah.
And I watched a good portion of it, and he's isolated for 75% of the match, getting worked by the Usos and Roman Reigns. And then he gets, but the fans are behind him. Every time Roman cheap shots him, there's a loud chorus of boos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People are behind Jeff Hardy.
Oh,
people want to see him.
Yeah.
Succeed. And he gets a hot tag. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was cutting you off. I popped big time when I thought he'd won that Battle Royal on SmackDown a couple weeks ago. He's a bright spot right now in the WWE because the man, I mean, from outward appearances, doesn't age much. He still does crazy stuff, which still to this day makes me go, oh, dial it back a little bit, maybe get into some mat-based stuff. But that's not his thing. But no, people, and here's the thing. people genuinely want to see him succeed.
Yeah.
They really do, because of his history and because he does seem like a genuinely good guy who just, people that have substance abuse issues, man, they're, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. Nothing. It's just, hey, these are issues that people have, and people want to see this guy succeed. And so when I saw this, I was like, oh, thank God. Maybe he just has explosive diarrhea as opposed to, maybe he just needs some Pepto. I don't know. But hopefully he is, he's okay. I would love for somebody to update us.
I know.
But yeah, it's just, you got to be, I don't know. You got to be careful when you're referencing what's going on with Jeff Hardy. When you say rough night for Jeff Hardy, bad things, automatically show up. So yeah, thankfully this doesn't immediately appear to be that.
And hopefully it's something minor that, he can recover from quickly and go back out there entertaining the fans. Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. So this is kind of interesting because we've heard sort of rumors about it, and it's personal stuff. But given that they were one of the more high profile wrestling couples, it would seem after weeks of rumors that Charlotte and Andrade have indeed broken up. Bodyslam.net reported, after speaking with multiple sources, I can confirm that the two are no longer together. Sources indicated the breakup did not appear to be mutual, and that it was Charlotte who ended the relationship. I was not given any details of why his relationship came to an end. Only the two are officially done as of a couple weeks ago. I think he had unfollowed her on social media was one of the indications. Mainly the reason to bring this up because we're going to get the question, what do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about this? So hopefully they both find happiness in their lives, and beyond that, it's none of our damn business. Indeed.
So yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
I have nothing to
add. There you go.
Hopefully they can find happiness, and apart from that, none of our business.
Great looking couple, man. All those awesome. I'll miss that personally. Just as a fan of both these people, looking at they always did look so happy, just unadulterated happiness in their photos. So whenever there's a split and people are no longer that level of happy, it's a bummer. It is. It is. I want people to be happy. Absolutely want them to be happy.
Want people to be happy.
Not sad,
No, happy. Let's get a word from our sponsor, Amazon Music. Since all the friendos out there are listening to this show, it's safe to assume you love listening to podcasts. Well, you'll find tons of podcasts, including this one, going in raw on Amazon Music.
That's right. Amazon Music has more than 10 million free podcasts to listen to, such as the hilarious Smartless, which you can get ad-free 1 week before everyone else. There's also the true crime podcast, Dr. Death Miracle Man, which is available 2 weeks early on Amazon Music.
Yeah, and if you're like me and love your music, you got to check out thousands of free music stations and playlists on Amazon Music. Or if you like your tunes on demand and ad-free, then you got to give Amazon Music Unlimited a try. It gives you unlimited access to a lot of songs, and I mean a lot of songs, like 75 million songs, as well as podcasts, music videos, and so much more.
And with Amazon Music Unlimited, you can listen to any song anywhere, driving to work, walking your dog, doing wind sprints, anywhere offline and with unlimited skips.
Or listen to podcasts. If you've never tried Amazon Music Unlimited, now's a great time. For a limited time, new customers can try Amazon Music Unlimited free for 3 months. No credit card required. Just go to amazon.com/GIR.
That's amazon.com/GIR to try Amazon Music Unlimited free for 3 months. Amazon.com/GIR. Renews automatically. Cancel anytime. Terms apply. And let's get a word in from our sponsor, Raycon. So, Larson.
Yeah.
I'm sure by now you've seen all the gift guides that are out there this holiday season, and you could follow those gift guides and buy gifts from like 10 different places, or you could start your holiday shopping at Raycon and get a gift that everyone will use, Raycon wireless earbuds.
Yeah, whether I'm working or working out, my Raycons are my go-to pair of wireless earbuds. They feature top-notch audio quality, and Raycon's latest model features 3 new sound profiles to make sure whatever you're listening to sounds its very best. You got pure mode for podcasts and instrumentals, balance mode for rock, and bass mode for hip hop and EDM.
And Raycons are available in 5 stylish colors and start at half the price of other premium audio brands. And with free shipping and returns, getting the perfect gift for everyone on your list just got easier.
The holidays are coming up faster than you think. Now is the time to knock out that gift list and avoid the last-minute shipping scramble, especially because right now, Going In Raw listeners will get 15% off site-wide with code HOLIDAY at buyraycon.com/raw.
Go to buyraycon.com/raw and use code HOLIDAY today to get 15% off your entire Raycon order. buyraycon.com/raw.
Before we get back to the show, let's get a word from our sponsor, Manscaped. So, Steve, the holiday season is upon us, which means it's time to start finding that perfect gift or stocking stuffer for the people in your life.
And Manscaped has the tools to make sure the stockings of all the guys in your life are hung with care. Manscaped is the leader in men's below-the-waist grooming, and their top-selling Performance Package 4.0 has what a guy needs to keep their package in top shape.
Yeah, it includes Manscaped's Lawnmower Body Trimmer, the absolute best trimmer for balls, butt, body, the Weed Whacker, ear, and nose hair trimmer, both fantastic products. But let's also not forget the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner, which help keep your stocking fresh and clean.
And if you order a performance package right now, you'll get 2 free gifts, a great pair of Manscaped boxers and the Shed travel bag. Or if you're looking for stocking stuffers, Manscaped's got you covered too, with shampoo, body wash, cologne, even ball wipes to help keep your sleigh bells from getting too stinky.
Whether you're shopping for your partner, dad, brother, or friendo, get them a gift they'll actually use. But make sure to hurry to get these gifts so they show up in time for the holidays. Right now, you can get 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com with promo code RAW.
Again, get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com with code RAW. Be the ballsiest gift giver this year with Manscaped.
Let's talk Bron Breakker. He's probably happy after he scored the pin in the men's War Games match yesterday at War Games. Before War Games, he had an interview with Daily DDT and he revealed the genesis of his name. This is what he had to say. Quote, "We were just sitting around one day and I'm like, well, when I used to block people in football, I used to try to break them in half. That was literally what I tried to do. Snap them in half and break them. What if I'm the breaker? I break people. Breaker. And then it came to me. Bron is part of my first name, and that's what we went with. What my dad and uncle did before me with some of their promos and stuff that they've done, they've all laid this groundwork. There's all this stuff out there for me to use if I want to. Obviously, I'm not going to bank my entire," he continues, "that's not what I'm going for. I want to make a name for myself and stand on my own, but there's certain things out there we could use." I guess if you're a second generation talent, there's that decision you have to make.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Do I use the family name and try to use that to, you see the Steiner name, okay, that's he's got the amateur wrestling, or he's got the wrestling pedigree, at least that's what comes to mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or do you want to try to make a name on without using the family name?
Yeah.
I'm sure every second generation or third generation talent probably faces that decision.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons to probably each.
Oh yeah, no, there's definitely baggage, and like you said, there's pros and cons for whatever decision you make. I think it's great that he's seemingly wanting to take control of his own density, of his own destiny. And craft his own legacy. He does, dude. He's got all the tools. He's obviously channeling in his promos a little bit of the big bad booty daddy, but also hopefully he also focuses on crafting the legacy of just innovative wrestling like his father and uncle did, because the Steiners as a tag team were innovative wrestlers. They were a terrific tag team. And you put that together with, a controlled, sort of, I guess, PG or PG-13, maybe TV 14, whatever it is. I guess they're going for TV 14, perhaps.
Yeah.
Might be in their future. A TV 14 version of the Big Bad Booty Daddy. Man, that might be a recipe to go all the way. He might be the guy to take that title off of the Tribal Chief. You never know.
Could be.
So good for him. It'd be awesome. It would be great, because NXT did this for a spell. I don't know if they necessarily did it on TV, but I know they did it in, digital video, like on the .com and stuff. But, people would explain their names when they would show up in NXT. When Fergal Devitt would then be Finn Balor, he had a whole name. He had a whole history of that name. I think
when Kenta showed up in NXT and they changed his name to Hideo Itami, I believe they had.
I know they
had a thing in the ring about it.
I know they did a thing in the ring. I forget if that ever actually aired or if that was like a special digital video thing. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But there was for a period of time in like the mid 2010s that they would do that. And I mean, this is great. They're obviously acknowledging it with a wink and a nudge a lot on TV.
It's a little more than a wink and a nudge.
Much more. Maybe they're just sort of, okay, let's get this out of the way. And then once he actually wins that title, which transitioning now to NXT War Games, that's got to be a New Year's Evil.
New Year's Evil.
It's got to be.
Evil, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, you'd think it'd be New Year's Evil.
I mean, going through War Games that's a big deal. I mean, I kind of feel like the guy who really took the main brunt of that main event was Grayson Waller.
Oh, he got beat up.
But the fact that Braun Breaker's the guy that pinned Tommaso Ciampa there in the middle of the first ring, whatever, and stood tall with his team. He led Team 2.0. You got to think that in terms of the story of Braun Breaker, he was led into every trap that Tommaso Ciampa set, and then led into many traps that Johnny Gargano set in their match. Now he's able to overcome them in War Games. The combined DIY, he's able to overcome them. Maybe, you got about a month now almost exactly a month before New Year's Evil. He gets a couple more matches where he's figuring out some of the savviness of these wrestlers, of Tommaso Ciampa type wrestlers. And then at New Year's Evil, you make that transition, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That seems to make sense. Now what's next for Ciampa after that? You would think main roster, but who knows?
He seems to have really taken in all the interviews I've seen with him, everything that the way he's branding himself as Mr. NXT 2.0, the guy to beat. I know it seems obvious that he's taken a heavy hand in developing some of these talents. Yeah. I mean, again, it all boils down to what does this dude want out of his career at this point in his life. Wouldn't shock me if he continued in 2.0 as a player coach. I mean, he has said in the past that he loves sticking with NXT and he sees himself there for a long time. Things change, obviously, but and schedules schedules are a little bit different now than they were pre-pandemic. But I don't know. I'd love to see him on main roster. I don't know. There's always the question of how are they going to use him at that point. Let me ask you this.
Yeah. If
Tommaso Ciampa goes to main roster and he has a first 2 years that is on par, similar to Shayna Baszler, a character who's in some ways similar, no nonsense kind of guy, or kind of competitor rather. Is that a good thing? Is that a success? I feel like Shayna has been underutilized, but she certainly is utilized.
No, it's. I agree that Shayna's been underutilized. She has been involved on a regular basis. She's on TV on a weekly basis. I think, at least as an observer, not the wrestling observer, but a wrestling.
We
observer.
are mere simple observers, not wrestling observers.
The. Yeah. Like for a professional or sports entertainer in WWE, probably the worst thing I would think is to just not be involved. I would even think being stuck in a terrible gimmick and a terrible storyline is better than just sitting around not doing anything.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, with the men. Well, I guess now that it's on a woman, it's a bit different. But the 24/7 division is purgatory. That's awful. You have to dig your way out of that. Like, look at Hurt Business right now. Like, they just got out of the 24/7 division, doing jobs for up and coming teams. Who knows if they'll ever get out of that?
Yeah, exactly. But being off TV entirely and being kind of forgotten about, that would probably even be worse than being in the 24/7 division. So I guess if it's a choice between not being on TV or being in a position kind of like Shayna, you take Shayna.
Mm-hmm.
Where, yes, the fans. Here's the thing: it takes one storyline, one good storyline, for Shayna for the fans to be 100% invested in whatever she's doing.
I agree,
because she's that good.
Yeah,
and I think she's one of those names that, if the question is posed, who's being underutilized? Who's someone who's immensely talented that WWE, I feel like it's a pretty long list at this point, who WWE isn't using to their fullest potential?
Yeah.
Shayna's probably near the top of that list.
Yeah.
And if Ciampa finds himself in a similar situation, he's involved. Maybe he had a decent tag title run. Maybe him DIY reforms on the main roster or something. Gargano sticks around. We'll get to that later. And that's kind of like after 2 years, the peak of their main roster career. But, hey, if they say, hey, Ciampa, Gargano, want to try to do what you did in NXT on the main roster and feud again so we can recapture that magic, that's something people would be instantly invested in.
Yeah.
You let those guys be heavily involved in what they're doing, that would probably be really, really good.
No, there's no probably about it. It would be. The problem is that kind of stuff, just from what we know, really doesn't happen on main roster. Like they don't let them take the reins like that.
Because we've seen Shayna after dropping the tag titles, or even before they dropped the tag titles. It's like in a lot of ways she's the Baron Corbin of the women's division, where they're having obvious weakness. How many times? Well, let me finish. I'm not talking in terms of character stuff. I'm talking basically in one capacity.
Yeah.
Shayna gets rolled up a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And that's Baron's Achilles heel. He gets rolled up a lot.
Yeah.
That's the nature of my analogy.
That's where it stops. I just want to make sure people know
that's where it starts and stops. That's it.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they would think someone who's a trained MMA fighter who's had incredible success in NXT would come to the main roster, doesn't know how to reverse a roll up,
Yeah.
That's the decision for me. That's mind boggling. Maybe they think that's protecting her.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It seems like if you lose consistently to the most rudimentary wrestling move, that makes you look doesn't make you look strong in my eyes.
No, it doesn't. I mean, getting back to Ciampa, it's like, if he goes to main roster, there's two names that I'm like, oh God, they're probably going to wheel him out there again. Like, if Gargano does stay, and I kind of don't feel like he's going to, but if he does, and they put DIY together, they're going to trot them out there against like Dolph and Bobby Roode, or Ciampa as a singles guy. They're going to put him in there against the Miz, and then it's
Dolph,
or Dolph. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So like, I don't see it. I'd like it if it was like, oh, what if they have DIY take on? What if DIY is the catalyst for why Orton and Riddle split up? That'd be great, right? That'd be cool. A high profile tag team like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's all sorts of great names that you'd love to see Ciampa in there. Ciampa versus Orton, Ciampa versus AJ. There's all sorts of great names.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I don't know. They'd look at him and be like, oh yeah, this is the thing. Plus, Ciampa's sort of like, besides Gargano, Ciampa is like the guy. Like Vince seems to be running away from Triple H guys, and Ciampa is like a prime Triple H guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. So I don't know what his contract status is like. I don't know what the last thing we heard was. Gargano's is coming up here in 4 days, so apparently he's got something coming up. Yeah.
While we're talking Ciampa, let's talk Gargano. Their careers in NXT have been linked pretty extensively. Based on Gargano's gear last night, based on some tweets, based on his post-match promo, he's obviously done with NXT.
Yes.
Obviously done with NXT.
Yeah.
Done. They brought back Rebel Heart for him as his theme last night. It wasn't the Way theme. It was his first solo theme. He's done in NXT, but where? What's next? And it would seem not exactly obvious, but it seemed likely he'd go to AEW, knowing what would look like for him on main roster.
Yeah.
The philosophy Vince seems to have embraced of late, which is, as you mentioned, straying away from Triple H guys and trying to develop wrestlers who are really athletic from the ground up.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And I texted this to you in Enforcer last night. He's a guy who's probably been told no a lot in his life, as in terms of in the wrestling world, Gargano, that is, that you're not going to make it, you're too small, And he's overcome those doubters basically at every step. And I don't know Johnny Gargano. I don't know what makes him tick. But if he thinks to himself, all right, every time I've faced doubters, every time I've been told no, I've proved them wrong. Maybe he thinks, hey, maybe I'll stick around for 2 more years, take a crack at the main roster. Doesn't work out, there's other places to go. We just don't know.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. One thing that we do know is that prior to signing a new deal, they'll pitch him ideas. Because we've seen that with Adam Cole. Literally just happened. Saw it with Adam Cole.
Yeah.
And those ideas were horrible. So it's like, it's one thing to go into a situation where it's like, hey, we'll sign you up for 2 more years, bunch of money, and you'll try your hand at main roster. Okay. But now that he's got the leverage of, well, I'm going to see what my options are. Okay. You want me to go to main roster? What do you got? Well, you're short, so we're going to make you a manager. You're going to change your name to just Johnny.
I wonder, I'm guessing no, but given what just happened with Adam Cole, I know Vince especially is typically not prone to self-reflection. If they get what happened with that, because apparently they made an effort to re-sign Adam Cole. They offered him some money. They pitched him creative ideas. If after that they're like, okay, obviously these type of ideas, even with a good sized contract, is not going to be enough to keep free agents from leaving. If we really want to keep, say, Gargano or Kyle O'Reilly, we have to kind of go back to the drawing board in terms of what we pitch them creatively. Because it seems like money by itself is not going to seal the deal.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They probably thought all those Adam Cole ideas were home runs. It's not that they're not going to sit back and say, oh, he left because these were bad ideas. They're going to just be like, well, he left because his girl is in AEW. His best friends are in AEW. And yeah, he's dummy for doing it. He's a big dummy for doing it. And look at what they got him doing now, fighting with Orange Cassidy. He's a comedy wrestler. That's probably what Vince thinks. Oh, he would have been much better as Keith Lee's manager. Who?
I doubt Vince even knows who Orange Cassidy is.
We got rid of that Keith Lee guy. So no, he probably wouldn't have been. No, I think if anything, he's gonna say, what do you got for me? Well, here's some ideas, and they're all gonna be terrible, and they're not gonna work because they're gonna try to rebrand them. And so, and we're gonna find out about those ideas. I'm sort of laying this roadmap out for you, people. Here I go in Raw. Once Sean Ross Sapp gets the info, we'll let you know what it is. Or you can just go to Fightful Select it yourself. Yeah. But if you want our takes on it, that's what we do here going in Raw. That's how it's going to go. He's going to say, hey, what do you got for me? And they're going to say, I got a bunch of bullshit. Take a look at this. And he's going to say, yeah, okay, I'll go to AEW where I can just be myself and have awesome wrestling matches because that's what you don't do that.
I mean, that's the other aspect of it. In 2.0, obviously, the in-ring aspect. Even though War Games was a really fun show last night, I didn't think there was a bad match on the card. At least on the weekly TV, the in-ring product is not the focus it used to be for NXT.
Nope.
It's all more about characters, which Gargano can do fine.
Mm-hmm.
And we've heard, I think it was Shayna talked about this conversation she had with Vince, where Vince told her, "Hey, don't worry about work rate on TV. Don't worry about putting good matches on TV. Save those for the pay-per-view."
Yeah.
Like if that's, like Gargano seems like he's in this for the craft of professional wrestling,
Yeah, but he's not opposed to. He does great character work, like the way.
Oh, totally.
The way is a group that's made for main roster, and you see Austin Theory adopting a lot of that stuff, not all the stuff, but a lot of that stuff on his. He's not quite the dullard that he was, but he still has that sort of Dirk Diggler thing, that he had with the way. If Vince goes to Johnny and says, "Hey, we'd love to adopt the way for main roster because I really enjoy what you did there," and he can cite specific examples of that. He's like, "Man, I really love this stuff. I've got this gimmick, like you were saying in the pre-show. I got this thing where I'm bringing Austin Theory under my wing, and you're going to come in, and you're sort of his adoptive dad. We can do a thing where you're immediately, mixing it up with Vince McMahon."
With Vince, yeah.
That could be great TV because
that could potentially be huge for
Vince. Can still perform on TV, not matches, but he can still perform with backstage stuff. He's been doing with Austin Theory now. That'd be great. I have severe doubts that would
I do too.
ever happen.
Yeah,
But that there could be good stuff there. I just think that they'd be like, okay, what is this guy to bring to the table? He can do the comedy stuff. He could do the drama stuff. He does tick some main roster boxes for sure.
Oh, he definitely does.
It's just a matter of, do we want to see whatever they're going to call him in whatever, way they're going to book him? Are they going to basically say, oh, you're Johnny Wrestling? Guess what? Now you're Johnny Manager.
Or maybe they just rename him Johnny Wrestling.
Yeah. Which I'd be fine with.
Yeah,
People call him that anyway. So if they call him Johnny, but it'd be like a weird, we just think it's funny to call him Johnny Wrestling, but he's a manager thing. We want to ever actually get to see the wrestling.
Yeah. They call him Johnny Wrestling because he knows wrestling.
Yeah. So I don't know. Hey, whatever he wants to do is great. Exactly. I'm on board with Johnny Wrestling. I just, looking at the recent history of NXT, of main roster, of releases, of the idea that, you had a 30-day no-compete window. Let's sign him to a main roster contract where they have a 90-day no-compete and then immediately drop him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why you'd give them the benefit of the doubt unless they
wowed
you and put it in solid in contract.
I don't think, if I was a betting man, and if his channel points, unless his channel points, I'm not a betting man, I would bet on Gargano going to AEW or else not going to the main roster.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of avenues by which he'd be like, all right, let's give this a try.
Yeah.
I agree. History has indicated to us that if you're an NXT call-up, the odds are really stacked against you in terms of being able to succeed on the main roster right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but maybe, maybe he just sees Austin Theory. He's in this thing with Vince right now, and that's promising. Vince came back on TV apparently to do the thing for the Rock's movie, and then also seemingly to get involved in this Austin Theory storyline. So
yeah,
that's something.
War Games kicked off though with women's War Games, and this was billed as less of a 1.0 versus 2.0 thing, and more of a conglomeration of can they coexist with Toxic Attraction, which of course is a pretty tight unit. And Dakota Kai, because she has a thing with Raquel Gonzalez. In the end, though, they staged a really magnificent angle during this match where Cora Jade does this sort of like a senton off the top of the cage.
Like a swanton. Yeah.
Through a table onto, I forget who. JC Jane. And immediately starts selling shoulder. Now, the way they framed this for production, for TV production, on top, coupled with my stream being kind of pixely in the moment, I bought fully in to, and her selling of her shoulder injury.
The performance is what sold it.
Was awesome. Was great. And they do a thing where they're going to take her out of the match. Medical is at ringside. Io Shirai says, no, she ain't going nowhere. And then she pops the shoulder back into the socket like Lethal Weapon. And it was an awesome, awesome moment that had us going. And it was like, as soon as Io says, no, I got this, it's like, oh, thank God it's just a work.
Yeah.
But it was a really sick moment. It was a really cool angle.
It was super cool.
And in the end, Cora Jade ended up picking up the win.
Yeah. There's this great moment where there's a bunch of kendo sticks in the ring and she grabs one. She's essentially operating with one arm, so she's trying to fend off all the Toxic Attraction.
Because everybody else is laid out,
yeah, with kendo sticks, and she can for a bit, but then they overwhelm her eventually. So it's a situation where she has to kind of like keep herself out of the fray because she could be a liability to the team.
Yeah,
and in the end, Raquel Gonzalez hits JC Jane with the power bomb, and then she gets laid out. And the Cora Jade literally looks around, sees everybody else is laid out, goes over and covers JC Jane to get the win. Yeah. It was really well done. The whole thing was really well done.
And she's still only 20 years old, so she is like definitely a 2.0, pickup. She debuted. You remember we did Backlash 2018?
Mm-hmm.
She debuted after that. We always reference Backlash 2018 because it was the most boring pay-per-view that WWE has put on in recent memory. And the entire time we spent just doing impressions like, impressions of wrestlers and not paying attention at all because it was so boring. Well, in that time, she debuted in professional wrestling. So like, that's how young she is, which is pretty great. So that was a pretty strong match right there.
Yeah.
We had Imperium successfully defending their NXT tag titles against Kyle O'Reilly and his mentor, Von Wagner. Imperium got their finish for the win, and afterwards the crowd starts giving Kyle his seemingly a send-off goodbye. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Kyle. Von Wagner, who had spent the last 2 months trying to be Kyle O'Reilly's best friend, and they were clicking, tries to attack Kyle. Kyle senses it coming, fends off the attack, throws up the Undisputed Era sign, crotch chops him, and gives him a big sort of FU. And then they're going to have, he said later on in a promo, keep the cage up. We're going to have a steel cage match this coming Tuesday. We can kind of assume that this is going to be Kyle's send-off. He might do the honors for Von Wagner, right?
Yeah. If this is Kyle's last match in NXT in WWE, yeah, he'll do the honors and give Von Wagner that rub of beating Kyle O'Reilly, and then he'll move on to AEW, where he plans on going.
Kyle O'Reilly tweeted out about 14 hours ago, "I've been turned on before, and I ain't going down that road again. F that noob. I'm going to stretch him on Tuesday in the cage for even trying."
Where's this Kyle been?
Where's this Kyle been? I want this Kyle.
Where's this Kyle been?
I want this Kyle.
After that, we had Cameron Grimes versus Duke Hudson, hair versus hair match. They actually had the barber chair set up in the other ring. Little table with some clippers on it. As expected, Cameron Grimes got the win. He rolled up Duke Hudson with a handful of tights. So again, outsmarted Duke Hudson to get the win.
Good match, though.
Then afterwards, he has to hit a cave in to get Duke in that barber chair, starts shaving some of his hair, and then Duke comes to and runs off. Yeah. Every match on the card I thought was pretty solid.
Yeah, they were strong matches, yeah.
Yeah.
We had after that. I mean, the thing about Von Wagner is going to be interesting is that he's not the strongest wrestler in the world. He's a big man, and that match was carried by 3 really, really good wrestlers. So him transitioning to like a singles guy, they're going to need to put him in there with more experienced wrestlers to really carry his. It's not like he's going to be able to be in there with like one of the Creed brothers. That would be probably not a great match. But if you put him in there with Roderick Strong, who seems opposed to actually wrestling other cruiserweights, he'd be fine. It'd probably be a good match,
Yeah.
Speaking of Roderick Strong, he successfully defended his cruiserweight championship against Joe Gacy, who is determined to turn that into like an open weight, open gender type title, which I thought it would have been really, really interesting.
Yeah, me too.
For the Joe Gacy character, as I pluck a hair out of my mouth. That was disgusting. I don't know where that came from. I just pulled this out of the dryer, this hoodie of mine.
I don't know. I don't know.
Anyways.
Again, fun match. And then not a whole lot of involvement from Diamond Mine. I know Joe Gacy took him out ringside, but it's not like they were interfering to the degree that they have recently.
This seemed to be more of the main distraction was Harlan putting his hands on Ivy Nile, holding her up, and Gacy had to leave, his sort of focus and say, put her down, it's all good. He gets back in there, and within moments we have the finish.
Yeah. And then the main event, men's war game match, Team 2.0 defeated Team 1.0. A lot of really good stuff in this bout. Grayson Waller got beat to heck.
Oh, man.
Pete Dunne especially was really laying into Grayson Waller. He had a great spot where he did an elbow off the top of the cage through a table. He had a star-making performance, I thought. Braun Breaker got his team the win after hitting his finisher, the press power slam on Ciampa. It was a hell of a match. Violent, physical.
Saw the return.
Everybody got their shit in.
Dexter Loomis took out Trick Williams, or he sort of equalized things because Trick was like putting all sorts of. He didn't really do a whole lot. He put a bunch of weapons in there, helped him get some tables and stuff in there. Almost impaled Grayson Waller, throwing a chair into the ring.
With a chair, yeah.
Carmelo had a good moment. He got to break up. DIY was on the verge of winning this. And Carmelo's the guy to stop the tandem DIY pin on Bron. And he says, I don't miss. And Gargano was there. Gargano had a lot of great. I mean, he started this thing off really strong.
Yeah, him and Melo started off.
So yeah, no, but yeah, Braun Breaker and Team 2.0 stood tall with the win here over NXT Team 1.0. Wildly fun card on Saturday, of course. Triplemania, Regia 2021, and we were watching it. An absolute mess of a show, but wildly entertaining.
See, we were only supposed to get 6 matches.
We got
7 though.
Yeah, I mean, we got 7. They went
because they were running late apparently.
They were running late, and so we got one additional match.
Yeah.
Again, AAA logic. You're going late. You think you're gonna have to cut something? No, you add something.
No, you add something. And there's a bunch of like segments kind of in between matches. You had Cybernetico coming back.
Oh, huge.
And then
huge.
Yeah, massive. And then at the end of this Psycho Clown, Pagano, and Cain Velasquez match against LA Park, Rey Escorpion, and Taurus. Oh, what was the dude's name? Another
was it
AAA
Jalisco?
legend.
Jalisco?
Yeah,
somebody
like that,
Jalisco, yeah. Ray Jalisco Jr.
came out to the ring and like a legend. And he's got like getting booed by the crowd.
Yeah.
And GD comes out to get in his face because apparently like he took the masks of all their, whether fathers or uncles.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had these interesting moments that you're like, sometimes they didn't get the reception from the crowd it seemed like they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But also if you're running late, like unless this seems integral to something you're doing down the line.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's something that doesn't necessarily need to be aired because it's not going to motivate something down the line, then you could have taken it out of the show. But maybe, like we watched AAA 2-3 times a year. So maybe this will lead somewhere. I don't know.
Rayo de Jalisco Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, who is this guy? Who is that guy? It's just wildly fun. I mean, like you said, is it going to lead to something? Maybe, but whatever it's going to lead to is going to be wildly unpredictable, much like one year Pagano and Chessman have just a brutal death match. The next year they're teaming up together.
But it was a can they coexist situation? The answer, no.
No, they
cannot coexist.
In fact, they lost that match and then they started fighting again at the end.
Yeah, they did start fighting, but then they weren't in matches against each other on Saturday. The show finished as it should have with El Hijo del Vikingo winning the Mega Championship. They seem to have been getting this guy ready to be their top guy for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And if he had not won that match, it would have been really confusing.
Yeah.
So he's got the belt now. And that's pretty huge for Vikingo, who's this absolutely spectacular wrestler.
Well, I think, according to Lucha Blog anyways, and Lucha Blog I think has a write-up for post-wrestling. So be sure to check that out.
Yes.
He had said... it was something like, I'm looking at his feed right now. It was like, out of all the matches, it was like, oh, here we go. The Rudos, the bad guys, won the first 5 matches. The good guys won the 6th one, but the crowd was behind the bad guys, so that got booed too. And then you finish with Vikingo, who's supremely over, probably the most popular guy in the company. Won the 7th. So like AAA did everything to bring the crowd down so that Vikingo won in the end. Shockingly, FTR, who seemed determined to start a riot there at Triplemania Regia, retained in a ladder match against the Lucha Brothers, which was, fairly shocking. A really, really terrific match. But FTR was doing everything they could to get that crowd to throw shit at them, to boo them. They were shoving people. Man, they were really there to do some of that old school, let's start a riot while we're in a different country thing.
Yeah. I mean, it was a crazy, unpredictable, wildly entertaining show.
Mm-hmm.
It kicked off, the broadcast did, with Los Toxicos defeating Lady Shani, Sexy Star 2, Fabi Apache.
But in
a lumberjack match, and all the lumberjacks had straps, so if you got sent out of the ring, you were getting hit with straps.
The real heat here, though, the real angle, the actual story in this match had nothing to do with the participants. It was
that's not exactly true, because heel ref and Fabi Apache,
right,
they got beef that goes back to previous generations, if I understand correctly.
Yeah. But the central conflict was between heel ref and his dad, face ref, who, had a conflict with Fabi Apache's family going back decades. So there was, some amazing moments there where they had made amends. But then heel ref cuts a promo at the end of the match on his dad. So who knows where that's going to lead to? But I've never seen the refs get so much of the attention. It has been like since Hebner or Neil Patrick, maybe. I don't know. It's great stuff.
Yeah,
great
stuff. It is great.
Yeah.
It is great. It is great. After that, we had NGD defeat Los Vipers and Poder del Norte.
Yeah, NGD are the invasion guys coming from CMLL.
Correct.
And they featured a little bit later as well. I think challenging when Rayo Jalisco? It was when the Cain Velasquez match.
Yeah.
La Impresa defeated Chessman, Dave the Clown, and Murder Clown. And the high spot of this was an absolute disaster.
It really was. From the opening bell.
From the beginning. Arguably the high point of this was Sam Adonis doing a moonsault from the top to the floor, trying to hit Chessman, who was on a stretcher, and missing completely. And then just sort of laughing it off.
Ended. Yeah, he just laughed about it.
The match was done. The match was done. And he decided to do that spot. And honestly, he's lucky he didn't whack his head against like the steel frame of the stretcher.
Of the gurney, yeah.
But
that could have been bad. But yeah, he missed completely.
Yeah, big whiff right there. And again, you watch this and there was in the opening match, there were 2 German suplexes in the first 5 minutes where you thought, oh my God, they just dumped these ladies just dumped each other on their heads. They ended up being fine, but it's like with AAA, it's like, how do these people, it's like that's the Superfly spot years ago. It's like, how are they getting through this alive?
I know.
They do.
I know. Then we had Dragon Lee and Dralistico defeating Laredo Kid and his mystery partner, Willie Mack.
This is a great match. It was a lot of fun. It was a really fun match. Yeah, really fun match. As we mentioned before, FTR defeated the Lucha Brothers after that. There was a promo earlier in the night between these two to set up it being a ladder match, but according to Lucha Blog, they never really actually mentioned the ladder aspect of it. He just speculated that was what the intention was for that particular promo.
Yeah.
Very AAA way of doing things. Then we had Psycho Clown, Pagano, and Cain Velasquez, who had a great ASU Sun Devil outfit on. Versus they beat LA Park, Rey Scorpion, and Taurus.
And then main event, Vikingo defeating Jay Lethal, Bobby Fish, Bandito, and Samurai Del Sol. A lot of fun. This match was tons of fun.
Oh man, no, it was a really terrific match, and it was a great moment for Vikingo to pick up that win.
Yeah, a lot of members of the locker room came out to celebrate with him. It was cool. It was really cool.
He got the rub from the Widow too. That was great stuff. We got a Raw tonight, and here we got a preview. First up, there's no escape for Kevin Owens as he squares off with Big E inside Steel Cage.
Yeah. Becky Lynch defends Raw Women's Championship against Liv Morgan.
That should main event, right?
I hope so. I hope it does main event. Should.
That's going to be
open the show with Owens and Big E. Main event it with Becky and Liv.
Yeah, it should be good stuff. And then this typically I'd be like, I don't want to see this. Miz TV is on Raw with special guest Edge. I hope that this is going to be where they introduce Beth Phoenix into it. So last night was Beth Phoenix's last time doing commentary for NXT, I guess for now anyways. But maybe if Maurice is still with Miz, they'll motivate this to bring Beth Phoenix into it. I'd actually very much look forward to this feud as long as it was a mixed tag situation.
Yeah. Agreed. You want to answer some questions?
Yeah, let's go ahead and answer some questions. I got a thread up here on the Twitter. Also posted it up on for our YouTube channel members as well.
That's right.
Let's see here. Speaking of Triplemania, Mr. Triplemania Juan Guerrero Jr. asks, does Kenny immediately win back the Mega Championship when he returns to AAA? or do they have Vikingo win to continue his push as the next top star? If Kenny does come back to AAA, I would think it'd just be to do the job to Vikingo.
Yeah.
I guess anything's possible, but I'd be kind of surprised if they just put the title back on him. But
yeah, I would be too.
It's AAA. Who knows? I don't know.
Who knows? Don Wagner, Patrick Sparks says, say Gargano goes on an excursion of sorts around wrestling promotions. You can only pick one star for each promotion to see him wrestle. Who do you choose? So if Gargano goes to Impact, who does he wrestle there?
Josh Alexander.
Yes, correct answer. If he goes to AEW, who's he wrestle there? Brian Danielson.
I don't think we ever saw a Brian Danielson match with him, at least not in
New Japan. He goes to New Japan, wrestles Zack Sabre Jr., right?
Oh, of course, absolutely.
Goes to GCW.
Oh, boy, they had a pair of shows this weekend that were wildly fun. Wildly. I still haven't watched most of the second one, but that first show, So High, Stay High, something like that.
Yeah.
Kid Drago, or the Drago Kid. Oh, my gosh. That was fun stuff. Bandito and Tony Deppen had a good match as well. And Effie bled a lot in the main event. It was like too much. I think they cut that shit short because they did like a light tube door spot, and like he got busted open immediately and profusely.
Oof.
Gargano versus Drago Kid.
Okay.
That's who I want to see.
Good.
Or Deppen, I guess. I don't know. Deppen's supposed to be, Deppen's a really good sort of match.
I want to see Gargano versus Gresham. Give me that match.
Have book Gargano for Terminus.
There you go.
We could have our cake and eat it too. Gareth says, if Spotify could do a 2021 Wrapped on your wrestling tastes, what sort of memorable content from this year would you expect to see? He says specific matches, promotions, wrestlers, theme songs, podcasts, content creators, merch, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, man. I don't know.
Would that be wrestling related?
Yeah. We'd have to think about this more from our, for our wrap, whatever kind of wrap up we're going to do. So we can go back.
Yeah.
Ilya versus Walter is going to be up there for me. Kenny versus Hangman, all that Hangman stuff. That'll be up there. Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker. Wrestle Dip, I know we're all looking forward to WrestleCoin, the ultimate pump and dump coming up in NXT.
Yeah, I can't wait to get on the ground floor of that.
It's going to be more 2022.
I don't really know what it is, but I can't wait.
Yeah, well, it's in the future. You can look forward to it.
Was it March 32nd? Is that the date I'm supposed to be looking out for?
It's not an actual date. It's going to be sooner than that, but later than today.
All right. Sports Guy says, rank the ceilings of these three women, Cora Jade, Gigi Dolan, and Ivy Nile.
Do you know what that avatar is for Sports Guy?
Oh, wow.
You know who it is?
It looks very familiar.
It should. I'll give you a hint and you'll get it immediately. It's two people combined into one.
Yeah, I know. It's Vince and somebody else.
You can't tell who it is? Tony Khan.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, now I see it. I knew it was Vince.
He says, rank the ceilings of these three women. Cora Jade, Gigi Nolan, Ivy Nile. I think at the very least, their potential ceilings are all NXT Women's Champions.
Yeah.
Cora Jade, maybe even if she stays the path, the WWE Women's Champion. I don't know.
I think a lot of it is. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know in terms of Ivy's main roster, person. You got to show off character personality thing,
That's what I was going to say. I think as in terms of in-ring competitors, ceilings are super high. I think what's really going to elevate one or raise the ceiling of one over any other is their ability to do the character stuff, do promos, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. This is a good question here. Brandong Hugo Longheavy says, if AAA signs Gargano with the stipulation that he gets to play any Marvel luchador, which character or characters would he choose? So we know his ring gear, I think he's got Wolverine on it. I think he's got
Man,
Deadpool, Iron Man,
Carnage. I think.
Does he have Carnage on there? Okay,
thought so.
He's a big fan of the X-Men. Man,
Vision. Make him Vision.
Ooh, That's a good one. I was gonna say, has there been a Wolverine in?
I don't think so.
Yeah, maybe he'd want to be Wolverine. Let's see here. Nikhail asks, who are your contenders for going in Raw men's and women's wrestlers, as well as pay-per-view of the year 2021?
Pay-per-view of the year. I think that's, if you take Triplemania out of it, obviously, I think it's a pretty easy choice, and that's All Out.
It's got to be All Out, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, like my wrestlers of the year for men, it's going to be Kenny Omega.
Mm-hmm. I think for women, it's Bianca Belair.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Bianca. It's either going to be Bianca or Britt. It might be Britt for me. Yeah. Let's see here.
This is an interesting question from Blake Elizondo. Says, I'm heartbroken Gargano, Mr. NXT, might feel like he has to leave the company, but it got me thinking, who did NXT 1.0 help out more in the end, AEW or WWE?
Oh, man. Who did NXT 1.0 help more in the end? Give me the argument that NXT helped AEW. I mean, it gave a platform for potentially some future world champions like Adam Cole.
Mm-hmm.
But Adam Cole is Adam Cole. I think he would have done that anyways.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, how many Universal and WWE champions came out of NXT? A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to make the case that NXT has done more for AEW than WWE.
I don't. It's a great question. It really is.
Yeah.
Because it's something you got to think about a little bit. However, I would say that NXT has done far more for WWE because for a spell there, you had to go to WWE to get to NXT to get the best wrestling in North America on North American television.
Mm-hmm.
You really did. I mean, how many 5-star matches came out of NXT for, like you said, the first time in WWE since 2011,
Yeah.
They had
Gargano
that.
Andrade, yeah.
They had that umbrella that was, that gave you the best wrestling. It gave you that type of indie style wrestling, and indie style storytelling. And then AEW came along and, it became a thing.
Yep. The Wild Dude, since you mentioned that you thought Joseph Connors was a pillar of NXT UK, who would you both, do we say that?
I very much tongue-in-cheek
right.
said that because of our love of the current run he had with Ginny and how we would make it.
Yeah. Who would you both choose as your personal 4-person Mount Rushmore of NXT UK? We'd have Tyler Bate, Pete Dunne, Walter.
It'd be British, probably be British Strong Style and Walter.
The case could be made for Joe Coffey or Gallus. They've been there from the very beginning. They're always involved. They've all won titles, I think. Wait, Joe hasn't. But I think they were tag champions.
They were tag champions for
tag champs for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, if
over a million, it says Kaylee Ray.
Kaylee Ray's a really good one too.
Yeah, that's a good choice too.
But in the end, I'd probably stick with mine. I mean, like Mustache Mountain has been like, they have not won the tag titles, but like, I feel like the only reason they didn't is because of COVID. Because I think they're gonna probably win. They might win this week.
Yeah,
although
on Thursday.
I'm sure there's probably taping spoilers out there. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That would be mine. That would be mine. British Strong Style and Walter.
Okay, that's a good Mount Rushmore there.
Let's see here. I mean, I know yours would be Eddie Dennis, Sam Gradwell, Noam Dar.
Oh, Noam Dar's great.
Noam Dar is legitimately great. He's awesome.
Yeah, he is great.
Yeah.
And Jack Stars.
Yeah, no, I see. I totally see your point with Gallus. Totally see your point with Gallus. I love Gallus Boys. Gallus Boys on top. Let's see here. Easy says, how much better would War Games have been if LA Knight and Kyle switched roles in these stories? I feel like Kyle is Mr. War Games. No disrespect to LA Knight. That's a great point.
It is a great point.
It would have been much more 1.0 if it was Kyle, Ciampa, Gargano, and then who's the fourth guy?
1,000%.
Who would
I mean, what?
Who
LA Knight, Ciampa, Gargano, and Peter Dune.
Oh, and Peter Dune. Yeah.
Kyle should have been in there. So you have that dynamic between Kyle and Pete Dunne, which could have been interesting.
Absolutely, yeah.
Ford Age. Out of these next crop of AEW pillars, who's most likely to become a champion, either AEW, TNT, or tag champion in 2022? It's Brian Pillman Jr., Dante Martin, Powerhouse Hobbs, Leo Rush, and Tony Nese. Who's most likely to win a belt in 2022? Pillman, Dante Martin, Powerhouse Hobbs, Leo Rush, or Tony Nese?
I would. Okay, does the FTW title count?
It's not on the list. It's applied here, so no.
All right.
Something tells me it's either going to be Dante or Leo Rush. Like when Dante's brother comes back, I would not be surprised if Top Flight gets those tag titles.
Powerhouse Hobbs could be pushed to the moon immediately. Like they could pull the trigger on that guy, and he could be a TNT champion like soon, like with shocking quickness. And yeah, I could see what you're saying with Top Flight. I think that it's out of that group, it's either Leo or Hobbs. I could see Leo being TNT champ. I could see Leo being TNT. I'd go with Leo Rush. I could see Leo.
Yeah, totally. I can see him being TNT champ as well.
Yeah.
Greg Morris, Steve, book Johnny Gargano's next feud if he stays in NXT. Or main roster. Larson, book his first feud in AEW. I think I did that last night where after Danielson loses Paige, Gargano comes out.
Yeah.
Challenges him.
Yeah. You thought Wangman was a beast. Johnny Wrestling's here, buddy.
Yeah.
Say goodbye, Wangman. Neto says, do you think on main roster, he
of course it's Dolph.
He shows up and he slaps Vince McMahon, says, stay away from my son. Neto says, you think NXT specials will ever be held in arenas again? If the idea is they don't think they can make money doing it, then they're not going to do it.
The answer is no. No, they're not going to.
If at some point 2.0, if 2.0 starts getting 1 million in the ratings every week and it starts to become a real thing, sure, but not anytime soon.
Over here on the YouTube, this is a good question. Deadpool Nerd says, if you went back in time 20 years and explained modern wrestling to your younger self, what would you show them? I'd show them Young Bucks versus Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi at the Long Beach show.
I'd go with Okada Omega 1 because that to me had like vibes of when I first saw RVD wrestle, and I was like, whoa, it could be this. That's awesome. Let's see here.
Excuse me.
I'm heading over to the YouTube as well.
John Adams, who are the champions of NXT 2.0 this time next year?
Oh, man. You know what? Stay tuned for our predictions coming up in about a month.
Oh,
because we're gonna be, we
That's
always
true.
predict who's gonna be champion. Yeah.
Let me ask you this: will Bron Breakker even be in NXT this time next year?
Oh man,
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say he gets called.
Assuming
he has a good title run, he's gonna get drafted.
He's gonna be drafted, huh? That's
next
a possibility.
October.
That's a distinct possibility. A year from now, I would say it's entirely possible that Carmelo Hayes is champion.
Mm-hmm.
Or Joe Gacy if they ever actually figure out what his character is so that people can figure out how to respond to him.
Yeah.
Or Idris Enofe. It's going to be him. He's going to be champion. Or no, you know what? I'm going to go with Uso. I'm going to go with Solo Sikoa.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably going to be my prediction. Yeah.
That's a good choice. Good choice. Doug Jackson, besides Braun Breaker, is there any male superstar on NXT 2.0 that has main event potential as of this writing after War Games? Braun Breaker had another coming out party in that match, and it feels like there's no one besides Braun with the potential Vince stated he was looking for when he rebooted NXT.
Carmelo Hayes.
Solo Sikoa.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Oh, some guy says, I've been trying to think of a way to introduce wrestling to my girlfriend. She's never been a wrestling fan and thinks people fake fighting in their underwear is a bit silly. How can I introduce it in a way that might actually seem appealing?
I mean, if that's her preconceived notion, then she's right. I mean, it is pretty silly, but that's why I love it. That's why it's great.
Yeah, you have to kind of embrace the silliness of it.
Yeah, right.
I would say you mentioned Okada, Omega. Any of those matches?
I'd go in the opposite direction. I'd go to an Orange Cassidy match.
Yeah.
I'd do that. I'd say, look, it is silly. This is how silly it can be. But it also, there's a whole, rainbow. There's a whole spectrum of silliness to drama involved. And because I think Orange Cassidy, the thing about his matches, like his better matches incorporate both plenty of comedy, but then hard-hitting shit. So it's like, look, this is Orange Cassidy. If you like this, then you can get into wrestling. If you don't like this, I don't know. It's probably not your thing. It's all right. It's not Lacey's thing,
Yeah.
So
it's not my wife's thing either.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. Tonight at twitch.tv/MFSteve here. NXT Steve, where Braun Breaker's our champion over there at NXT. We're on the road to WrestleCoin, the ultimate pump and dump, happening sometime in the future. So that happens at 5.
Hey, if that happens tonight, can you give me a heads up?
If WrestleCoin happens, it's gonna happen. I'll let you know. I'll let you.
Yeah, give me a heads up. I'm gonna be in on the ground floor.
All right. 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.